Yeah, welcome ARSA and Bruce, but I'll introduce you formally very soon. All right, so today's topic is working together, cybersecurity and project management integration. It will be presented by Bruce Lodge from ARSA and Naveen Gupta from PMI. And I think as we can appreciate, the cybersecurity, I guess, is fairly close to our heart at the moment after some of the recent breaches, and I won't name those companies. So I'm personally looking forward to that event.
We do.
All right, bit of agenda here. Again, bit of a housekeeping. We got toilets outside. I think men on my left and ladies on my right outside. Very soon we'll have Gia from the board just to welcome you because board is here for its members. I'll also briefly talk about lifelong learning series and what that is about. Then we'll do the meaty part of the session, which is it will be up to Bruce and Naveen to take us on the journey. We will have some time for questions and answers afterwards. Then we'll talk about upcoming events and those who are coming here from PMIQ. If you need PDU details, we actually keep them towards the end, so you stay with us. And then we'll do our closing remarks, and then we'll start networking again. Okay, I'm just going to get Bernie to introduce talent, and let me just play this video. Sure. Yep. Yeah, I might just keep it.
That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone in IT?
All right.
It was working 5 minutes ago.
Is that an evaluation question?
Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you, John.
I can talk on behalf of. So if the video doesn't work, then hopefully I can provide some justification there. So we'll give it a shot. And if it just magically happens, then so be it. So my name is Bernie. I work for Talent. I'm the contractor experience manager here. So we've got a fair few talent staff. If you want to raise your hand, we've got some recruiters, account managers, candidate managers. So if you're looking for a job in IT, please make yourself known. No, but we are here to host PMIQ. It's probably our third or fourth event that we've hosted you guys here. We really appreciate being able to collab with other networks such as PMIQ and AISA. It's a new one, so it's nice to have some exposure. Thanks, Bruce. And also thanks, Naveen, for coming along. So, and thank you. This is a pretty full crowd, so great to have new people in this space here. Really appreciate it. In terms of talent, we are a leading IT recruitment firm. So I would like to say, and I'm sure Keith will say this as well, like to dominate the Brisbane space when it comes to IT recruitment. We've got a few of our contractors here in the room as well. I'm not going to get you to raise your hand, but you can if you want to. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Real tough crowd. And so essentially we do like to pride ourselves in the contractor experience. So Claire up the back there is the equivalent of myself, and we do make sure that our contractors are taken care of. And that's what we try to set ourselves apart when it comes to talent and the other recruitment agencies around Brisbane as well. So looks like the video may not work.
We just need to connect back to the thing.
So I am just filling the space.
You go. Okay, we might just go to the next slide. Let's go to the next slide, maybe from there. Oh, there you go.
I was the video. You're
Thanks, Bernie. I think you did a fabulous job there, you know, impromptu. Yeah. So thanks for that. May I get Gia? She's on our board, and I'll just get you to welcome our members. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gia Sanova. I am PMIQ board member. I would like to ask those who are attending PMIQ event for the first time, hands up. Great, welcome. Welcome to our main chapter event. And those who didn't raise your hands, thank you for coming again. I really appreciate that you are active members of our community. Cybersecurity and project management, this is my top favorite subjects for now. And I am lucky and honored to say, actually, I know both of the speakers. I and Naveen was here. we work together at Suncorp and we bumped each other a million times. Apart from projects and security, we talked about parenting, we talked about public speaking skills as well. I and Naveen, we are also members of Scale Toastmasters. Toastmaster is PMI very own Toastmasters Club. So if at the end of the event you're very impressed by Naveen's public speaking skills, no pressure there.
No pressure.
My welcoming skills. So come and join us for Toastmasters event as well. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy that as well. And then Bruce Large and I and Bruce, we work together. We work together at Powley. He's my key stakeholder. So everyone, please be nice. I would like to come back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, what's the go?
He's very experienced and knowledgeable OT cybersecurity specialist. And apart from security and project management, what I think is very fascinating about today's event is we have Naveen who represents IT cybersecurity and who is coming from OT background. And OT means operation technology. Think about power grid, think about water supply, those small medical devices that they're getting more and more digitalized, and that means they are subject to cyber threats as well, and we need to protect them. Very interesting event. I'm looking forward to you, forward to your speech and to the event. And I could talk about cybersecurity a lot, but I will leave that to the experts. One more note I need to add as a board member, and we, PMIQ, all about our members, about the community. So if you have any questions, what we're doing for you guys, just come and say hello, chat to us. We are very welcoming. We would like to know what you're thinking, what you would like to see here. And we have other board members here, our amazing executive team. So yeah, it's nice to see you guys and make new connection. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Gia. Well, I'll just very briefly talk about lifelong learning series. So this is something we started, I think 2021. The whole idea behind lifelong learning series is to give our members and guests view into what we're gonna cover this year. So you have visibility of what next 10 to 12 months look like, and you can also decide which events are close to you and which one you want to attend. So you can head to our website and find out when we're doing, what events we're doing. So today's one I circled there is information security. Right, so I'll just do a quick introduction to our speakers, then I'll hand it over to them. So Naveen Gupta. So Naveen is program and project manager with over 25 years of IT experience. He's PMI certified program manager and PMP holder as well. He currently works with Griffith University as a cybersecurity PM. And prior to that, he worked at Tabcorp, same company that I was with as well, or I am with. Suncorp Group, BOQ, Equifax Australia, Virgin Australia, and Super Retail Group. And before moving to Australia, around 10 years ago, he performed various roles such as portfolio manager, program manager, project manager, and delivery manager for companies like Bank of America, Citibank, and Aon Hewitt. So yeah, very large experience in various industries. So Mike, thanks for coming here today and presenting to us. Bruce Large. Bruce has 15 years of experience working with IT and operational technology in network, telecom, and system engineering role. He has worked in electricity generation and transmission, railway, aviation, emergency services, consulting industries. And Bruce is a chartered professional engineer, foundation chartered SABSA architect, and holds a GISA Response and Industrial Defense certificate. Yeah, that's okay, that's okay. And ISA IEC 62443 expert, and has attended industrial control system cybersecurity training at QUT. So I guess it just speaks to I guess the credibility factor. So thanks, Bruce, for coming here and presenting to us today as well. Yes, I think I'll hand over to you guys, and we'll just switch the thing to the your presentation. And I think the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pit stop. There we go. No pressure, though. Thanks, man. Cheers.
All right, we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Testing. Who we are, we have already been introduced, but who wouldn't want to talk about themselves once again?
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Bruce Large. Yeah, CPN, JRPQ, 15 years experience in IT and OT. Have a Bachelor of Engineering in Telecoms and a Master of Business in Applied Finance. And yeah, a bit of alphabet soup, but yeah, a SABSA Chartered Foundation, GIAC Response and Industrial Defense, and ALC Cybersecurity Foundation practitioner. I also used to be in project assurance, so I know some of your little secrets. So, and
Fantastic. All right, actually. Okay, Val is saying I need to speak louder. Can you guys hear me? Okay, fantastic. All right. Actually, 26 years of experience. I started as a Java developer, moved into project management about 18 years back. I was actually speaking with someone. I used to work for a company which created an HR product.
Oh.
And I was in that team, and this is where I got my first project management job. But I've done project management, program management. I was program director for a few of those. And of course, I'm project manager right now. I have spent last 5 years doing cyber project. Hey, I can tell you one thing. I hated cybersecurity until I moved to cybersecurity projects. I have done my master's in computer application and of course certified PMP and PGMP CSM. One fun fact, when I did my PGMP in 2018, I was about 20th or 25th person in Australia to complete that certification, and less than 1,000 people globally. And of course, working with Griffith University and cybersecurity program, but working as senior project manager there. All right.
I was just going to ask, just out of my own interest, how many ASA people are here tonight? Oh yeah, the numbers are good. Yes, that's good. Yeah, so I'm actually the deputy chair of ASA Queensland. I should have mentioned that, but it's really great to have a joint event for a topic that it's like a common topic but different viewpoints. So looking forward to it.
Just because Bruce said show of hands, how many people from PMI? Hi, I'm also.
It's actually pretty
good, right?
Yeah. Who is a member of PMIQ and ASA? Hey, there we go. Yeah, no, very good. Very good.
I'm also an active member of Toastmasters, take pride in that. And there's a banner there, Suzanne, immediate past president. Val is there as well. So, and of course, myself, after the event, if you want to talk to me.
You had a very good pitch over coffee, so I'd recommend it. So.
All right. So let's get started.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you some pictures and I'm going to ask what it is. What is that? Anyone? Airport security. Everyone knows about it, but you will think, hang on, we are here to talk about cyber security. Then why the hell I have been shown pictures of airport security? I can draw a parallel, but let me take you back in time. Anyone who has been to airport security before 9/11? Anyone raise the hand? Of course, quite a lot of people. Now, when I was putting together this slide, I Googled it and I found some interesting facts, which I would like to share with you. You could walk up to the gate at very last minute. You didn't have to have a boarding pass. All you had to do was go through security checkpoint, no questions asked, no IDs needed. Another one, experts mentioned that no one ever thought about terrorists wanting to use commercial airplanes as weapons. We all know what happened on 9/11. Every year we remember that day. And that was physical security. Nobody took physical security seriously at the airport until we all had to go through that painful event. Now think about if we want to wait for 9/11 to happen for cybersecurity. I would say no. And I'm glad that's not the case because awareness is increasing and all of you sitting here actually showcase that, which I'm quite proud of. Hence, there is increasing interest in cybersecurity. A lot of people who work in project would know that rise in cyber threats, breaches, of course, leading to increased awareness. How many of you were part of this breach? Me included. How many Latitude Finance? Me included. Right? So of course, we all talk about it. Any company we work with, we currently have compliances which are only getting stricter. People ask about it. Hence, security needs to be prioritized. Projects we work on, people come in, stakeholders say, hey, what about security? I don't remember 5 years back anyone asking that question. I absolutely don't. 10 years back, I never even heard about cybersecurity. I used to work for a really large bank, about 5,000 people. You know how many people used to be there managing security? 5. And financial and reputational cost of security breaches. I don't have to talk about it. There is a class action on for Optus breach as well as Latitude Finance. I wasn't a Medibank customer, but I'm sure there must be one for that as well. And people are demanding that we need to have security integrated through the entire project life cycle to mitigate these risks which are there. Before I move on, I might ask you, Bruce, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of today is really this last dot point, around how we integrate through the life cycle. You'll hear about bolting on cybersecurity. That's really painful and annoying. It's easier to do it earlier, right? You don't want someone like me coming into your project at 90% of budget, because I got some bad news for you. And it's actually interesting about regulations, right? So I work at Powerlink, Queensland Transmission Network Service Provider. As a regulated monopoly, we are very driven by regulation, right? Like every dollar we spend in the network is more expense for your electricity bill. So we need to be able to balance like doing enough to protect systems, but regulation actually helps us make that case, right? And it's very interesting your point about stakeholders. So I think, I've been doing security 10, 15 years, and it is actually nice as a security practitioner to be heard. Things like security critical infrastructure, electricity, the Australian energy sector cybersecurity framework have really helped. And it actually gives stakeholders a common language, and we'll talk about some frameworks in a bit, and that hopefully helps. Yeah.
Sure. Why don't I ask you to talk about some of the cybersecurity breaches which comes from your.
I was thinking I might swap so we can. Yeah,
sure.
hopefully get the clicker right. So yeah. So full disclosure, Naveen actually did these slides for me. Thank you. Because it's really hard to pick only 6 case studies, right? So Yahoo was huge, and from memory, I think there might have been a CFO lose their job through this. There was quite a lot of turmoil, right? And Yahoo was also, I believe, a nation state attack too, right? So quite a difficult thing to defend against. Oh, here we go. So yeah, LinkedIn, quite a lot of accounts, 6.5 million, including Donald Trump's. So that's.
I'm just going to add a fun fact here.
Yeah.
Donald Trump accounts, as in user ID and password, was stolen through LinkedIn, but using same credentials, his Twitter account was compromised in 2016, and he did not change it. Using same credentials, his Twitter account was again compromised in 2020.
Yeah. Well,
hope you don't use same user ID and password for different accounts.
Yeah, we'll come with some tips about multi-factor authentication, but and one that's very close to me, the Ukraine power grid attacks. There's actually been multiple attacks against Ukraine, but in 2015, the first cyber attack on a power grid, right, that impacted people. Half the homes in the Ivano-Frankivsk region of Ukraine without power for many hours. The next year, there was an attack against transmission infrastructure. So we're starting to see this kind of nexus of military conflict and cyber. For those of you that are interested, there's a thing called the 5th domain of warfare. First domain of warfare being land, second being sea, third being air, fourth being space, and the 5th being cyberspace. And it's incredibly interesting seeing joint domain operations, right? So where we're targeting, cyber physical, kinetic, blowing things up, if you will, with information warfare. And in this case, in this incident, they actually disabled the circuit breakers. So they opened the circuit breakers. They then destroyed some network equipment, which meant they couldn't remotely connect. And then they also did a denial of service against the phone system. So pretty impressive and sent a very strong message in our community. Ashley Madison, oh, what's this? I don't know. But hopefully my wife's not watching. But quite interesting, because if you're going to go on a website, don't use your work email address, and don't use your work email address when you're in the US government. People will notice. But unfortunately, yeah, people actually died, committed suicide over it, right? So there's a lot of shame around this, things like sexting and extortion. So yeah, but examples of when things have gone bad, want to cry. Hopefully no one's seen this screen. You've made some poor life decisions if you've seen this screen. Don't pay the ransom. But yeah, so 2017, 200,000 computers in 150 countries, £6 billion. NotPetya, I don't know if people remember NotPetya, but that took out Maersk. That was, I believe, over billions of dollars. Yeah. So our good friends targeting Ukraine again. But it's been interesting seeing this evolution. I remember about 5 years ago, ransomware was, this is annoying, rebuild your computer, to now your entire company doesn't work or your supply chains don't work. So kind of seeing like a real, I guess, monetization of attacks, right? CS Energy, hopefully no one's in the room. I can't see you, that's good. Out of interest, does anyone know about this? Nah, so they did a great job of hiding it. I should ask them what they did. But so CS Energy is an electricity generator in Queensland. I used to work in generation for another one, but they had an issue where their IT systems were compromised. The actual power stations were not, so they were able to disconnect before there were any issues. But it was quite interesting because it was in the papers like 2 or 3 days, right? I don't know the numbers, but I would hazard a guess like millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for a instant digital transformation uplift program. So, but examples of close to home, right? And definitely known within our critical infrastructure community. So maybe we'll do another little switcheroo.
That's okay. If you're okay to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, Naveen and I, it was quite a collaborative deck, right? So we kind of, what are the topics we want to talk to? So project management methodologies, and how do we embed cybersecurity, right?
Sure. So a lot of people here, project managers, working in project space, we can go all day about, hey, we got to do projects, right? Yes or no, anyone? Yeah. And if some of us would say, hey, waterfall is better, I'm not going to brainstorm here because that's not we are here to discuss. What we are here to discuss is, no matter how you deliver your project, you need to embed security. Just a couple of tips about how you can do it. You don't need to make it onerous.
I'm clicking.
You need to define your security requirements, your stories, whatever way you do it. You need to understand potential threats. You need to understand what regulations you need to comply to. You need to conduct a risk assessment, and you do it. You don't have to do one for security. When you conduct risk assessment, just have security as part of it. And based on that, create a security plan. There's a very good possibility there is one which already exists in your organization. You can reuse that. That's not a problem. But there could be few things you need to do just for your projects. I can't define what those might be, but you need to define it as you define your project plan anyway. And integrate security activities, right? So in every phase, every step, you need to ask your question. As you ask question, hey, if I'm going to write this piece of code, is it going to work or not? Is it going to work fast enough or not? Same way, you just need to ask yourself a question, is it secure or not? That's all we are asking you to do. If you take these simple steps, of course, you can get on to the journey, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of project managers in the room, I believe you're like Gantt charts. So I've kind of taken that and put into a bit of a timeline for you, right? So these are some of the key activities and milestones in a project. So to begin with, I quite like threat modeling. I enjoy audience participation. So has anyone been involved in threat modeling before? Yeah. Did you find it useful? Yeah, awesome. Why I think it's great is everyone has a different mental model of a system, right? Like say I'm a network engineer by background. I'll think about it from a network perspective. Database administrators will think about a different way. Developers will think about a different way. Operations will think about it different ways. So a threat model, we draw the system up, we understand the key components, we understand trust boundaries, we understand interfaces, and then we start to enumerate threats. And Aaron, so we start enumerating threats on that, right? That helps us all be on the same page, because often when we start drawing things up, it promotes conversation. Another great thing about threat modeling is it's not difficult, right? Just get on a whiteboard, start drawing it, think about the system, the interfaces, what threats there are, what we're going to do, did we do a good job, how do we check, right? So threat modeling is a really important activity that I think has to happen before you go too far outside your company. Vendors, bless them, like to sell you silver bullets. Sometimes, you know, they might leave out details that mean it's not going to work, right? So a threat model is how you make sure people like me are on the same page before you do stuff. Which then becomes the next point of how do you actually select a secure solution? I'll just quickly skip ahead. So milestone 1 is contract signing. So if you have not considered cybersecurity before contract signing, it's going to be painful, right? It's going to be variations. People will see this as an opportunity to claw back scope, do all kinds of annoying things, right? So when you're working with your vendors, asking them, you know, if they have security certifications, do they have examples? Do they train their developers in secure software development? Those kind of things, right? It's also, we touched on a couple of slides back, but understanding your regulatory environment. Now, if you're in critical infrastructure, you might have conditions where you can't run certain applications in the cloud with certain data. So it's a really great idea to know that before you sign the contract.
If I would just make a point here, some of you who work in financial or financial services organization, you have to comply to something called CPS 234, which is an APRA regulation. And there is a simple thing which you need to do. You need to ensure that your suppliers are compliant to whatever security certifications, etc. Right? And I was part of an organization where we built a really simple workflow. 3 questions which you can answer within a minute very quickly to understand where you might need to go in terms of third-party supplier security assessment. People were skipping it. And as long as they were skipping it, organization was in breach. It took us time to get everyone, I hate to say that, but in line. So
yeah, and it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing it manually and ad hoc, it's painful. If you have a system and a process and you start to work with, you know, procurement and other parts of the business,
Yeah.
it's easier, right?
Yeah,
And you know, you come to me early, I'm helpful. You come to me at the last minute, I'm going to be annoying. So it's very simple. Just please take that away.
project managers, take note.
So in terms of project lifecycle, this is the phase that, you know, as security practitioners, we normally get pulled in, right? Decisions have been made here that really impact here. And that, I guess, yeah, one of the big things is come to us early, not immediately, because you got to understand what you want to try to do, but coming to us early really helps, right? And in this phase, you know, if we've worked with our vendors, we've chosen a vendor that has some really good kind of like security practices, that's where we can start to collaborate, you know. That's where I would issue my security standards, security architecture, security patterns, and work with them, you know, to do secure software development, those kind of things. Some of that information is sensitive, so I don't really want to send it to everyone in an RFP, RFQ kind of phase. But once you're in the tent and you've signed NDAs and there's contracts, you know, we're in a point where, you know, we've managed risk and we can work together. Milestone 2, pre-go live. You know, kind of like think of it as your cyber go live, your cyber pre-production readiness. Depending on your project and what assurance you need, and we'll touch on that on the slide, this is where you're doing pen tests or architecture reviews, configuration reviews, right? So before it goes live, certain security assurance has to happen. I really should have drawn this to be actually here. One of the problems is the pen tests will get delayed because, you know, project gets delayed, and then there's not enough time to remediate, and we have to fix it in production. Depending on the system, that might be fine. Depending on the data, that might actually be a problem, right? So understanding when you do a pen test to leave time to remediate, super important. This is something that's very important. Your project is important, I understand, but I have to live with it for a lot longer than you do. So you doing things here to make your life easy, that makes my life painful. I'm not happy with that. And that's why I have a very big stick here. So this is a really important time. So if the project set us up for success, if we have a good contract management plans, good secure system management plans you wrote, things like how do you patch it? Have you built it to be supported? All these really important things, right? And ideally, there's lessons learned from this phase that really enrich the previous phases. Something that is sometimes unfortunately forgotten is how do you decommission it? So Aaron would know. What's a great way to find sensitive things? Buy it on eBay. So, people finish a project, they sell stuff. We're not involved. I don't know, some computers. I don't know, it's got a health database. I don't know. Just sell it. Yeah, train radios. Yeah, many. There we go. Fantastic. So there are people that will buy it. I've spoken to friends. There are people that look like government security agents that are very interested when when an embassy upgrades their IT. They're like, yeah, I'll take everything. I'll pay in cash. Yeah. So it's easy to laugh. It's actually hard to do though, right? Because people just don't think about it. Whereas security are like, wait, did we destroy those hard drives? So in your project, a 1 or 2 pager of how to safely decommission the system, invaluable, right? And ideally how you verifying and validating has happened. So anyway, so hopefully that helps with just rather than just a big black box of security, like doing like 10% more effort through the project lifecycle really, just helps everyone. So here, yeah, just kind of, project versus operations, right? So in the engineering world, someone said like 90% of your maintenance is baked in at high level design, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
super important that you have a whole of life approach. So yeah, so anyway, that was fun. Naveen?
Yeah, I was just saying, decom securely, it's an important thing. I would talk about an example that how in an organization where I used to work for, thought something has been decommissioned, which actually became a vulnerability.
Yeah,
and
classic.
someone was able to actually use it to get in.
Yep. And that like guilty of that. Like, yeah. And sometimes it comes down to, even if someone says they've done it, how do you validate it's happened? Because things slip through, right? People forget stuff, people are sick, whatever. So, question?
Yeah, one of the weak links is a disgruntled employee.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Insider threat. Yeah, 100%.
And who knows everything, and he may decide that when the decommission is finishing his job, getting contracted. I don't like, but he does something.
Yeah, and it's super hard because you have to do your job.
Yeah.
So that's where, things like separation of duties, surveillance, having a process. We talk about user behavioral analytics. Like, are they doing something weird, different?
Privileged access management.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's very topical given recent breaches. It's also things like, don't assume it's just people that are angry or whatever. They could be extorted, right? I've worked in companies where if someone takes someone's child and puts a gun to their head, they're going to do it. So how do you build systems where that's not an option, right? But yeah, it's really difficult and quite expensive too. And that, you got to understand your risk profile. Like, as security people, we would love to do everything. As project managers, you understand cost, scope, those kind of things, right? So making that risk-informed decision, yeah.
Sure.
So key steps to secure projects. So compliance. So compliance is probably our first stick, right? So as a security team, the risk of compliance is very real. Other risks, that there's a chance, there's a likelihood. But if say you're PCI DSS and you're handling credit card information, if you're not doing it, you will get fined. So compliance is really important. I don't know, Naveen, I think finance,
See, that's one, PCI DSS, APRA, CPS 234.
Yep.
I don't know, you might be ISO certified. But I would say start with your organization security standards and policies, right?
Yep.
You would like to start with what they have security team, people like Bruce have already put together. You don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? We all want to utilize. If there are any programmers, when I used to be, I would never write code again, right? Cut, copy, paste. Those were my 3 keywords. I would preach and I would practice every single day. Same is, it's there, right? Just use it. And they're good. And if you find something, then give this feedback feedback, right? It
Yeah,
has to be an
definitely.
iterative process.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if you move to the next one, ensure that security is part of your non-functional requirements. If we are doing a project, say a web portal or an app, and user response time to refresh to the next page is 2 milliseconds, you can't deliver with 2 seconds. You would say, what's the difference? There is. It's just not acceptable. We all know that, right? Consider security as part of your non-functional requirement, right? Just go to security team and just make sure you understand what needs to be done, and that's it. Once it is in your requirement, you're going to deliver it, right?
Yeah, and this, like when we were first building the deck, this was an interesting one. And I was like, oh, nice, Naveen and I are going to get along. So yeah, non-functional requirements, really important, right? So it's not what it does, but it's how it does it.
Yeah.
There are some people, though, in security world that actually don't like this, right? Like we like to think security is functional. It does give benefits, things like that. But the key is, as a project manager, like try not to fight it, right? Like you wouldn't fight a response time.
Yeah.
You just accept like, okay, we have to do this. And I guess that might influence how you manage scope and trade-offs, things like that. But yeah, I think it's really good. And like you'll see this in specifications, right? The NFRs, and then here's the security schedule. Yep. So engaging. So this is really important, right? So often, like we want to be helpful, and if you come to us early and you follow our standards, it just works and life's easier. And also, like we're interested in new stuff. You know, I'd say in the 90s, security used to be the Department of No. Like just stop doing things. You just keep plugging things together and bad things happen. So, but you know, security teams, the best analogy I've heard is like think of security as the brakes on a race car. It allows you to drive fast, but it lets you like, you know, have a high performance vehicle, lets you get into corners, those kind of things. We're not here to stop you from doing things. We're here to help you manage risk. So yeah.
Exactly. And I said that before, when I was not in security, I thought about security as a blocker. And if security is this way, I'll try to go that way. And absolutely guilty of that, right? I've done it a number of times. Of course, I was able to sneak my way around as well. I would admit that, but I'm not proud of it. We all need to understand what security can do for us. And hey, don't make it onerous. You may think Naveen is like broken record, keep talking about it, but that's exactly is the truth. I want to insist upon it because it is important. Let me ask you, if you work on a project and if you need a BA, you would go to your team leader or a resource manager early on. You don't want to go at the end, hey, I need BA because I'm going to go live tomorrow, right? You're going to laugh if I would say that. Testing team, exactly the same way. You would want to know when your testing team will come on board. Same is with architecture. Security is just another team you need to work with. And trust me, it's actually not onerous once you understand what needs to be done. Similar way as you would work with testing team, how you need to build your test cases, etc. Sorry, was there a question? Oh, sorry.
Nice. So utilize. Oh.
Yeah. We already actually talked about different things, different standards, secure coding practices. There are different things which are available. Bruce will talk about it a little bit later as well. But when you write code, just make sure your code is secure. That's it, plain and simple.
Yeah, right? even thinking about that's a good starting point. So embrace. So this is important, right? So instead of just trying to fight it, just acknowledging it. At the back of the slides, we're going to talk about how you can think about security in your own personal life. That's a great starting point, right? So if you are thinking securely in your own kind of systems, that will flow on. And I think it's just like having an awareness goes a long way, and having an interest goes a long way. So
I would give you another example. I used to work for an organization. Somebody clicked on some of the mandatory security training, click, and that person later on was actually subject to some sort of breach, lost some data because he did not read it properly. I know we all are busy. I know we all want to get things done very quickly. I know we all want to look good, that, hey, I've done my job, and hey, trainings, I can put it aside. But if you get into the habit of doing it, you actually learn something new. Plus, you're actually helping the organization, keeping them safe. So if there are trainings coming your way, pay attention to it. And of course, Who doesn't want to get educated? We all are sitting here because we want to learn something new. Just think about security education and training as one of the channels or venue to learn something.
Yeah, and just touching on that too, like it's important in security that if you do something like that, that we don't kind of punish you. Like it's actually way better for you to come to us telling us early rather than us finding it. I was saying before, I think to John, like average dwell times from an attack to when it's detected, it's about 200 days. So it's a very long time, right? If you think about kind of like modern kind of ransomware kind of outfits, like 2 to 3 days from infection to compromise. So like, hours, if not minutes matter. CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity company, they have like the world-class, like, Usain Bolt kind of world record of 1:10:60. So 1 minute from a kind of an event to, you being alerted, 10 minutes for triage to figure out like how bad is this, and 60 minutes to remediate. That's insane. But that's where we need to be. And
I'll tell you something which actually happened with me and just recalled. I used to work for a company, got in office Monday morning, my ID wasn't working. Right? I was a program manager for $10 million, really important program. I couldn't afford that my ID wouldn't work. Right? I was getting angry. I was talking to different people. I was telling people to solve it. People kept on apologizing to me, but it did not get fixed. I was promised every 10 minutes that it will get fixed, and it did not. About 1 o'clock, my boss called me in his office with HR. I'm like, hang on, what's happening? Right? I didn't do anything, right? So what's happening? And there was a person on call from America because it was an American company. And they started asking me question if you have been sending emails from your Outlook to external email, and dropped the penny. Realized that I was working on a steer pack on Sunday. My VPN was having issues, so I went on my phone, sent the working pack on my Gmail ID, downloaded it, started working on my personal laptop, emailed it back. That's what happened. It was there in training material. I did not read it. I could have lost my job. You don't want to lose your job because of that, right? So
yeah, and I mean, I've been on investigations, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it sucks. It really sucks when someone just doesn't know and they've done the wrong thing. So
I wasn't working for cybersecurity back then.
You've learned. So look, I think this is a slide we both agree on.
Yeah.
Security must be business aligned. What does that mean for you, Naveen? Yeah.
Well, anything we deliver has to be for business.
Yep.
I was Java developer back in 2000, wrote some code with my team. I was very proud of. I don't know if you heard about EJBs, Enterprise Java Beans, use that. Oh. Application never took off, didn't even work for a single day. And we were like, oh, it's cutting edge. Why wouldn't it work? And why? It was not business aligned. Technology was awesome. We did not think about what customer wanted. So security, the same, must be business aligned.
Yeah, and I think the big one here for me is rather than saying no, not this way. Now, asterisk, sometimes you do have crazy ideas and we will say no. But generally, if you understand what problem you're trying to solve, we can find the better way to do it, right? The other thing too is security practitioners, like business is about taking risk. So we need to understand what is the benefit of your project as opposed to the information security risk and pitch it in those terms, right? So we just say to the business, you're all idiots, don't do it. Well, that's a great way to not have a job. Not that I would have said that, no, but if you can pitch it in terms of, well, yes, this project's really like good and it makes money and these kind of things, but are you aware of this reputational risk or this regulatory risk or this technical risk? Well, no, I wasn't actually. And now we think about that. Yeah. Or on the flip side, Bruce, I don't care what you say. We're going to make bank, so we're going to do it. So yeah, it's about having that awareness and knowing how to pitch what you're saying. Because if we're just being technical, it just loses like decision makers and sponsors and those kind of things, right?
Sorry, do you mind if we take questions Q&A at the end?
Yeah, that works.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just wondering that we're conscious of time.
Is that right? Or
is that okay?
Okay.
But my comment is that
after this, no other ones.
Yeah.
you have to take the context of the organisation.
Yes.
If you're Facebook and you're going move fast and break things and you're a startup, your risk tolerance is much higher if you're a government agency.
Yeah.
Or
risk appetite, exactly.
that's
Yeah.
right.
But that's where even having that conversation is important, right? Like if I go into a startup and say, no, it needs to be a full, secure software development tech stack, blah, blah, blah. They're like, first, we won't make money and we won't have jobs.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Is there an alternative then? Like, could we not collect personal data? Could we not keep all the personal data since 2003? Could we not put it in an S3 bucket? So about those questions, right? But no, it's a very good point. It's contextual. It is not one size fits all. And yeah. Cool. So risk management process exists in both worlds. So as cybersecurity, it is the application of risk management. As project management methodologies, you do consider risk through the whole life cycle of the project, right? I think of risk as the Rosetta Stone. So maybe show of hands, like who's heard of the Rosetta Stone? Yeah, there we go. Excellent. Thank you. Students of history. So the Rosetta Stone is really important because before that, when you read words and you have to say them publicly, and you're like, I don't know how to say this, but hieroglyphics? Very hard. Thank you, support team. No, before that, everyone's like, what do these emoticons mean? But when we had a Rosetta Stone, it's in Greek and Latin and also hieroglyphics. Oh God, the stress. But it becomes the translation mechanism to understand the two different worlds, right? So for me, project managers get risk. You do it every day. Cybersecurity, about risk. How do we actually communicate through risk, through ideally our corporate risk registers? So we're not kind of bringing our own different views, and we can bring it back to dollars or impact of business or health and safety, those kind of things. But to me, risk is what binds our two worlds together.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, Naveen, did you?
No,
Cool.
good. Thank you.
So yeah, secure software development. This is super important. The example I like here, and I heard on a podcast. So, when people learn how to be an electrician, we teach them safety day one. We don't teach them, go wire some stuff up, burn some houses, see what happens. In software, we do that. So the secure software development lifecycle, it just enriches the current system development lifecycle, right? Why it's important for us to talk about, it's common language and common concepts, right? Now, this might be a bit hard to read, sorry, but think about my kind of Gantt chart before. We have our threat modeling, risk assessment, like context, whatever. Threat modeling, getting into static analysis. This is where we're scanning our code to make sure we're not, doing silly things. Security testing and code review, super important, right? So peer review, putting it through penetration testing, those kind of things. Security assessment and secure configuration management as well. So, where we are in the life cycle. So kind of in pre-production test environments, in production environments. But, this website was really good from Sneak. They do application security, quite a long page that kind of talks through theory and systems and whatnot. And I think relevant to your company, right? So if you just buy things, you're probably not doing a lot of this. If you're doing web applications or doing, kind of mobile development or internal software development, maybe modifications, thinking about this and embedding it in the project from day one will save you a lot of effort. There's a few pen testers in the room. It's annoying when you see stuff that is just because you've copied it off the internet, not knowing what you're doing, right? So if you're thinking about this and you're putting security into user stories or into your development processes, it's going to save you building everything and getting a pen test and saying, hey, it's all wrong.
Sure.
And yeah, again, useful for collaboration between security and PMs. Naveen, I think anything you want?
Yeah, no, I would just say that, hey, for us as PMs or project services teams, it actually makes us more valuable that we understand all of that, right? So we want to, I would say, selfishly, my resume looks better with all the stuff in, right? So that's another motivation for us to get updated and learn all of those things from project perspective.
And even just having a look at that link will definitely help, right? So yeah, so sneak.io. So this is kind of, I don't know, terminology and things like we were having a chat on like which security assurance tool is best. So kind of like, just think of it as a spectrum. So first off, just desktop config, architecture review. So this is something where maybe it's a low risk system, maybe it's low data, maybe it's internal, no one's going to see it. We're just going to look at what you designed and kind of compare to the standards and go, yeah, that makes sense. Moving up into a vulnerability assessment. So I mean, people might have heard of vulnerabilities like Log4j or shell shock or heartbleed or poop. Anyway, so vulnerabilities, people tend to think vulnerabilities are just software vulnerabilities. You might have heard CVEs, those kind of things. Maybe not. I know half the audience has anyway. But vulnerabilities just aren't software. Vulnerabilities are weaknesses. It might be the fact you've built something in the public cloud and you haven't turned on security hardening. It might be a process that hasn't got a check. It might be you've built a disaster recovery site in a floodplain. These are all vulnerabilities, right? But security people just usually hone in on, oh, it's MS0686 or Eternal Blue, and people look at us like, what are you doing? Anyway, so vulnerability assessments could be, you might go out and look at it. You might go look at the system. You might test the system. You might run an automated scanning tool against the system. So kind of like, whereas the desktop is paper-based, the vulnerability probably has a tool. Penetration testing. So I would say everyone in the room, PMs that have worked on tech projects, especially in government, you've probably heard of penetration testing, right? This is where you have a system. You might share information with a tester. We would call that white box, so you can see all the details. Or it might just be, here's the IP address, here's the web address, go at it. That's a black box, right? What you do here is you basically simulate attacks and you see how the system works. Whereas this is tell me a cool story, this is I will try to break it, right? But pen tests can be abused. So as a security team, we might say things like, oh, you can only test this one little component, or you might only be able to test during this time, or everything's fine, please come here in 4 weeks. So, so pen testing can be abused. Purple teaming. I mean, who here has heard of purple teaming? Yes, very good. So it comes from like defense terminology. So militaries would have what they call red teams and blue teams. So an attacking force and a defending force. Now, students of history, the red teams, usually the Soviets. The blue team, America. What happens if you mix red and blue? You get purple. So in a purple team, we have attack people doing stuff, sitting with defense people doing stuff. The attacker will go, hey, look, I'm about to do this thing. Tell me what you see. And I'll walk you through. So whereas the pen test is very curated and kind of like, we're going to test on very specific circumstances. The purple team is, we're going to help educate you and bring you through the system, see how the system works. We then have red teaming. So red teaming is just no holds barred. This is your objective. Do what you want. You want to jump fences, cut locks, dress up as a homeless person, whatever. And I highly encourage you all to have drinks with red teamers. It's very interesting. Now, I don't know, but we often see in security, people just want to do the cool shiny. So I want to red team everything. So you don't have to, right? There's no point red teaming a web app. That does not make sense. Red teaming a security operations center, or red teaming a data center, or red teaming a business process, that makes sense. If you're interested, maybe afterwards come see me. Red teaming, super cool, right? But the point here is that there's a spectrum, right, of effort, costs, risk. So you want to use the right tool for the right job. Naveen?
Okay. I was PM on a red teaming remediation activities. So my systems analyst, like Bruce, security.
Naveen is bad.
He came to me and gave me, not actually gave me, but he said, hey, this is the secure link. Go there, 80-page report, read it. I'm a PM. I don't need to read. I need to just get stuff done. Naveen, you would understand what we're trying to do only after you read it. Trust me, those 80 pages were no short of a detective movie or a detective novel. Very interesting. When I started with first page, I only finished when I completed all 80 pages, because it talked about how ethical hackers, which would be your red team, actually got in. How did they get the IDs? They just looked on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, got some snippets of your ID cards, access cards, right? Created one, got into your guest Wi-Fi. From there, got into corporate network, stole some user ID password. And if I would say that password was password 123.
Oh, beautiful.
Because every time service center was setting up a password, they were sending an email and saying, hey, your password is password123, please go and change it. And people did not bother to change it for 6 months, right? So they could have, if they were hackers, they could have done really serious damage to that organization. Of course, they did not. They got in physically, they got in virtually, they installed a laptop on the network, which nobody could see. It was just there in plain sight. Nobody realized that, hey, it doesn't belong to the organization, right? So very interesting. We need to understand the risk. And if we do everything right, if we do everything we have talked about so far, we wouldn't really have problems. Worse, you would have red team done, and at the same time,
No.
next year red team, exactly same issues would be found, right? So
Yeah.
Are we running late?
Nah, well, I think we're good. I think there's only like 26 slides. It's the shortest deck I've ever worked on.
Death by PowerPoint.
So I'll go quick on frameworks. We don't have all 9, I'm sorry. So ISO 27001, I would call this like, it's the grandparent of security standards, right? Introduces a very important concept, a information security management system. These are kind of your whole of company policies, procedures, standards, talking about how you manage identities, computers, how you manage logging, vulnerability management. Unfortunately, very paper-based, but it's become like the standard for like, oh, you've done 27001, you have an ISMS, you do security. I would wager you would see this a lot when we talk about how you select a secure vendor. You're going to get 27001 assessment, right? So not bad, but just because you have an ISMS doesn't mean you're not going to get hacked,
That's
right? So out of interest, the NIST cybersecurity framework, NIST CSF, show of hands, I'm pretty sure so the history of the NIST CSF was actually the Barack Obama administration. They tried to regulate critical infrastructure and they got all their lobbyists and said no. But what came out of that was, okay, a voluntary framework, the NIST cybersecurity framework, for critical infrastructure to kind of go, hey, across these 5 functions, identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, how are you going? So it has categories, subcategories, and then informative references. So it links together 27001 amongst other standards of how do you do security. The reason it's really good is it's kind of like, it's accessible for many people. And a lot of people report their maturity against it. And, executives, board members, they have a familiarity with it. And there's also things in the standard like framework profiles and things that allow you to kind of benchmark. So it's become a really good standard. Just one good thing about 27001 is you can be independently certified. You cannot be certified against this CSF. Someone tells you that? No, you're wrong. And kind of the other end of the spectrum is the essential 8. Maybe show of hands if project managers in E8, yeah. Are you all in government? No, okay. So the E8's really good. Developed by Australia, yes. Famous, yes, please. No, and pretty famous in the world. The cool thing about Essential 8, so it used to be Defense Signals Directorate, it used to be the top 35. Now it's the essential mitigations to, what is it? The essential mitigations to stop, essential strategies to mitigate cybersecurity incidents. Anyway, top 37. The Essential 8 are the top 8. From the root cause analysis they did of security incidents, if you did these 8 things, 85% of breaches would have been stopped. I've actually been told it's 93, but no one believed that, so they said 85. But whereas 27001 is like process policy, Essential 8 is real security controls like application control, backups, multi-factor authentication, restricting macros, restricting admin, really good tangible stuff. The basics. And if you do the basics well across everything, you're in a good starting point. But like these are all complementary, right? They don't outrank each other and they're different tools for different jobs.
Now, fair enough. I would just say that I've done a couple of ISO 27001 certifications and doing maturity assessment for Essential 8. Yeah.
And we'll just park questions.
Yeah,
so
we'll just do it.
Otherwise we'll get smacked.
Statement about that. Your definition of 27001 is one phase of it.
Yes.
The second phase is actually implementation, which gives you your ISMS and does the stuff like your NIST and Essential 8 is part of it.
Yeah. But I think people misunderstand it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But a fair point. It's always fun presenting in front of security people. So just jargon, right? So just to close this out, controls. You'll hear us always talk about controls. Probably, what the hell are controls? What? Anyway, they are just safeguards or countermeasures for how we protect systems or information assets. And you'll hear us talk about CIA, confidentiality. So this is assurance that sensitive information is only disclosed to who should have it. If it's something that I care about and I don't want people to see it, how do I stop that? Integrity, this is the thing I care most about in operational technology. That data is not changed, destroyed, or lost in an unauthorized manner. That should be unauthorized, fantastic. Availability, system or service will be able to fulfill its function when required, importantly over a time period. So the time period matters, right? If it's over a year and your availability is say 99%, that gives you options. If it's 99.9999, yeah. So kind of wanted to have a little joke here that I know people think it's central. No, it's confidentially, yeah, integrity, availability. So these are dimensions of security problems. It is a bit, I don't know, it simplifies things, but it's a good starting point to kind of think, well, what do we care about here, right? If we come back to threat modeling. So a threat. So this absolutely triggers me. If you give me a risk register that's full of vulnerability. So a threat, an actor with the potential to adversely impact your organization. It could also be accidental, it could be natural. So, you know, some angry biological pirate here, I don't know. Vulnerability, weakness or flaw in the system. So we have a system and we've discovered some kind of bug or bad thing. And an exploit. The exploit is the method that a threat will use to make use of a vulnerability. So think of it as the rocket, right? Yes. So breaking it down, people. So yeah. So threat, vulnerability, exploit. Your risk register should not just be, I have old computers. That's not a risk. That's a vulnerability. Tracking your vulnerabilities is very smart. The risk is actually a threat actor will exploit these vulnerabilities in this system with this impact. That will help you make informed decisions, right? Lastly, security events. Something happened. It could be good. Incidents, it's not good. So something's happened and is a violation of your policy and likely requires a response. You'll hear people say attack. I don't like the term attack. You know, it's incidents and events, right? So someone's done something, okay, something's bad, we're gonna roll into incident response, whatever. Interest of time, Naveen?
Next one. I really love this one. So if you want to take a moment to read. In case we use too much jargon and buzzword, Jepson will be our interpreter. Hi, there are some project management jargons as well. We've heard about it, but why don't we talk about it, right? Expansion of project without proper change control. A stakeholder comes in, says, hi, why don't we add this feature? And we go, sure, that's a scope creep. And security should not be the reason for it. We should understand what our security requirements are. Stakeholders, everyone who has an interest can actually influence the project, would be a stakeholder, including all of us. All we got to do is, PMs, we need to add cybersecurity in that list. That's all we got to do.
That'd be nice.
Deliverable, anything, a result, an item, produce, or a product which is produced, which is tied to a specific project milestone. That's a deliverable. And hi, security may be a deliverable as well. Right? Just keep it in mind. Critical path. Everyone, okay, who all know about what is critical path? Of course, the sequence of activity that determines the shortest possible duration, you can read. We do not want cybersecurity to be in the critical path of the project, and that's easy. Trust me, I've done it 5 years of it.
That'd be great.
Yes, we do not want to get to the end and say, we haven't thought about cybersecurity. Now we need to start all over again, right? There will be some heads rolling if that happens. So, and now I'm going to talk about operationalized security source deep dive. No, I'm not going to talk about it. It's just for fun. A milestone, a significant event in the project that confirms that we have completed a phase, right? And our milestone should not be delayed because security is a bottleneck. If we engage with them, we can of course get it done on timely basis. Risk management, we do it. We have talked about it. Just include security in there. And change control. That how do we accommodate different changes, right? We all do it. And if we engage with security early on, then it won't be the reason we have to go through change control, because it is expensive, not just in terms of money, but time, etc. as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's project management jargon, I would say, more for AISI team.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Because these are all words we're like, what? Why are you yelling at me again?
Yeah, of course, yes. Of
What the
course.
hell's a milestone? So I think, Naveen, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. See, now we talked about all of that, but even organizations do it. We come across these compliances to do what? To protect individuals, people like us, people like you and I. So we thought, hey, why don't we talk about what exactly does it mean for me? If organizations don't keep security standards or they don't have security compliances, there is a risk that people like us can lose our user IDs, passwords. Like I gave example of Trump, and we all laughed about it. You and I don't want to be there. That hey, Naveen had a user ID named Naveen123, password 123. In 2010, there in LinkedIn got breached, and he was using same ID password for his Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, his Commonwealth bank account, and here is $100. I got out and let's go for drinks. No, we want to protect it. We want to protect it because people do it. People steal all this information, then it gets sold for 50 cents on dark web. And you would think, hang on, 50 cents or $1 maybe, 100,000 user ID password, hey? If it's $1, you can do the math, 100,000K for them, right? And then people will buy that information and try to actually breach information on your different accounts using this combination, right? So what if you lose your bank account or lose money? It has happened, right? Your social media account, your medical records, right? I mean, if people have some sort of sickness, they don't want to talk about it open. What if it is publicly available? What if your loved one has terminal illness, which you haven't discussed with your immediate family, but it now comes into public? It is not good. And if we lose our identification, right? I mean, I was there when Optus breach happened, and their response was terrible. I was saying, tell me what information of mine has been lost. They did not have a response. I still have emails where they kept on going in circles. They still haven't told me what information exactly I have lost due to that particular data breach, so I can do something to protect it. And information which is lost today can actually be misused in next 10 years. I don't know that when it can be used, right? Again, taking example of Trump. Yeah. So exactly. So we got to protect ourselves. And so losing our identification, that means someone can impersonate us, get a new SIM card, say, get a mobile phone. Even if you have SMS on for your, say, bank account login, you can still lose it. We got to protect it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it matters that you think about it, right? So interest of time, security starts at home, right? So just some real quick fire tips. So don't avoid your software updates. Now, sometimes I'm guilty of this. I got to close all the tabs. Anyway, it's worth doing, right? And ideally turn on automatic updates. Like just, yeah, don't even make it something that works automatically. Multi-factor authentication, super, super important, right? So again, if your credentials are lost, having some other way to authenticate, if you're really you. Backups, do backups. You've got OneDrive, Google Drive, these kind of things. 10 minutes today will save you heaps of heartache, right? Passphrases. So kind of like the password 123. Length is important, right? Not complexity, length. Make it a phrase,
Thomas is still sitting here somewhere? Thomas? No. Yeah, I was talking to Thomas about it. I'm not sure if he's here. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can't talk about that now.
No.
No, this is not the forum. Mobile devices. So malware, yeah, very, like if you jailbreak your device, you're running at risk, right? So think about how you're securing your devices, patching your devices, those things. And just thinking about it, right? So just develop cybersecurity thinking. If someone's trying to make you do something really quick, or, it's something out of the blue, or as I say to my mum, if you didn't ask for it, delete it. Just having that thought, right? Like just taking a moment before doing a thing, very important. These are actually from the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. I get asked this question a lot, especially at work after like Latitude and things like, what do I do? I'd share, ID care, breach information. It's easier for me to give people links to better material than me trying to explain it with crazy Bruce hands. Like, no, just back up all your things. Anyway, so I'd highly encourage you, if you just Google ACSC, personal cybersecurity, really great resources. This is actually the first steps. There's 2 other documents. We had a really good, so this is the order on the website, but we're like, well, I don't know, we'd probably put MFA higher. So, thanks government, but it's a good thing to share with people rather than if you like Christmas time, you go see all no, please, I'm on holidays. I don't have this conversation.
Come on, when I'm on my Gmail or my SMS, looks like I'm winning 3 lotteries a day. I'm the luckiest person on the earth, right?
Yeah, so these are great resources to share. Keep an eye out too. There's like Cybersecurity Awareness Week, where there'll be lots of materials. Just save those, right? Like really good things. To share with people, family, friends, that stuff. So, like one of my friends, she's in ASA, ran a password party. I was like, this is a whole new level. We're all gonna get on the beers. I'm gonna reset our passwords. And I was good on you, Shelley. So anyway, so key takeaways. So just to wrap up.
Do not ignore security in your projects. How many people understand that? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you're confused, think 9/11.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, there are a lot of incidents, and you don't want your project to be one of those statistics. Imagine being the PM at Optus; they're not having a good time.
No.
Um,
Work together with our security team. They are here to make us success, not to fail.
Yeah. So I think that's really important, right? How do we work together? And finally, security starts with you, right? Practice good personal cybersecurity, and it'll become like just more of a more natural to do it at work.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure
We might have exceeded time.
I think
just close to hard. Actually, I can talk about it whole day.
Yeah, this is the challenge. So look, cybersecurity, step up, protect yourself. And questions. So we actually, thank you. So because we have people online and people in the room, Vu set up Slido. So
yeah.
Now it's always funny, security people and QR codes. This is a legitimate QR code. I have seen it.
Yeah.
This is not a test.
No, this is not a test. Yeah.
If you get rickrolled.
Yeah. That beeper goes. This is not a test. This is not a simulation exercise.
Damn it, Bruce. I was always that guy like we should use QR codes.
Yeah.
And it took a pandemic for us to use QR codes. But I feel vindicated.
Yeah.
I had how-to guides.
People on the floor, if you have questions, right? I mean,
The problem you got now is like you're ordering at the table at the restaurants. People are putting.
No, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where like I used to have there was like the Norton thing, and it would do the URL decode. And it's just annoying. It's like, because like you see heaps of them now, and there's other stuff. Like I saw some guidance the other day. Like even if you just physically look at it, sometimes like if the sign looks kind of a bit ratty and the QR code looks amazing, it's probably not the right QR code. Yes.
Because of what they are, and they can't show you what the law is.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's a classic convenience security trade-off, So like if it's going to a website and the website looks somewhat legitimate, okay. If it's asking to install something, no.
So we have a question. Should I learn cybersecurity as project manager? Yes.
Were you awake?
No.
Did we do such a bad job?
Sorry, I would answer in a very different way. I have learned security on the job, and I acknowledge that, of course, I didn't like cybersecurity, but I have taken a step further. I have now enrolled for a cybersecurity graduate certificate course in Charles Stewart University. That's my commitment for next 12 months, right? So yes, whoever is asking anonymous, whoever is asking question, please, yes, please do it.
Is there any sort of certificates, certifications that you can recommend or anyone can recommend?
It depends.
Probably different opinions as well, I guess.
Oh, there is. Yeah, yeah. So
Are you asking as a project manager or? Yeah, I'm not. No, it's a good question, actually. I could come back to you.
yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Look, I actually quite like Security Plus, but it's more technical. Yeah, and there's a price point. So I think Security Plus is like $100 or something. The other thing I'd actually recommend is if you're in Queensland and you have a driver's license, which hopefully we all do. Actually, there's other ways. If you go to State Library of Queensland, you can actually get LinkedIn Learning for free, and they have a whole bunch of like
That's a good
cybersecurity
one. Yeah,
101.
that's right. I've done some of those on
Yeah.
LinkedIn Learning.
So like,
That's good, actually.
rather than a cert, maybe just better training. And I mean, I'm happy, like I can ping Gia, wherever Gia went, I don't know. There was Gia. Like maybe we can just email something out to people of some good like PM level things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I love Sabza, but you know, you're all going to shoot me if I put you on Sabza. So.
Another option, Charles Sturt.
Yep.
runs Three
IT Masters.
IT courses.
Yep. They're actually quite good. Yeah, I've done a few of those. Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, and they're on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're on YouTube, so you can just Google them. But I'll send something through Geo. Yeah.
You can actually just do like one subject in one of those universities if you like, and some of those are Commonwealth supported. That means for a subject you don't have to pay $4 grand. You can only get away paying $1 grand, right? So just different options here.
So I think maybe people want to like upvote, and maybe we do one on the screen, one from the floor. I don't know. There was a question from the.
Yeah, I was going to write it, but it's slightly complicated. A lot of questions, a lot of personal information these days. Just like when you jump in, I had to provide, I had to point by.
Yep.
All of this is being asked for through email. My understanding is that's not a safe way to transmit.
Yeah, it's not good. So ideally, ask the company if they have a portal, like a web portal. Also, I'm that kind of guy who's like, what are you going to do with this when you're finished with it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have nothing to add. No, one thing that like some of us do is if you get something like WinZip or 7-zip, is you can actually encrypt a zip file and put something in long, you know, ideally something that you can read out to someone, not like or gibberish, whatever. And then find an out of band method to share the password. That does work. But one of the big problems is people leaving stuff on their systems too long. So even if you securely share it, they might not delete it. But I'd say, yeah, ideally ask them for a secure way to transfer it. If not, encrypted zip file. And then what are you going to do when you're done with it?
Yeah, and that's actually is the problem, I would say, with agencies or consultancies. But at the same time, some of those are good. I have been working with some of those. They actually would ask me to enter my details on a portal. Yeah, I'm forgetting the name actually, but it's quite interesting because my license is expiring. So I got a reminder through that portal that my license is expiring, which I quite liked. And then you can actually, if there is another agency, which you say engage, and your information is already on that portal, all they ask you for is consent. So you don't have to reprovide that, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
The other thing is your stuff's probably already breached anyway, so you're better off. Sorry, very popular at dinner parties. You're better off monitoring. So ID care, those kind of things. And yeah, it just sucks. Like it's the world we live in now. For example, company I used to contract through like ransomware, and when we were looking at something, we're like, I know that company, email the government. So you know, and it's just really hard. The other thing too is a friend of mine does this. He actually watermarks documents. So, you know, if you scan it, you actually watermark who you're giving it to. So if it is breached, you're like, yeah, you did this to me. So that's another thing you can do. Yeah.
Remember, you can also watermark most of your emails as well. We've got a Gmail and Outlook.
Oh, cool.
Because if you do
Like a cert?
your name, so Bruce Large at Gmail.
Oh, and the plus.
You can actually
Yeah.
write Bruce Large
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
API
Yep.
or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. And I've
So if you use that email address with exclusively with one person, you will know if that's been breached.
Yep, I've seen people do it. The other thing is just lie about your stuff. Like,
Mm.
whatever, come at me.
Yeah.
What is my birthday? You don't need to know this.
We got a few questions.
Yeah, let's go. No, it's legit. This is actually active defense. Moving on.
Hi, I'm probably going to take this question, which says, how does small and medium business protect themselves without expensive investment? I would say a couple of things you can do, because I run my own business as well. Backups, subscribe to Google Drive, OneDrive, whatever works, Dropbox, whatever you like, whatever you think you can afford. And of course, whatever space you need. So that's your backups. Second, have a password generator. I use 1Password myself, easy to install, about $100 a year, which I think is quite good. And I have a Google Premium account, which gives me free VPN. But if you have a cafe, VPN comes with that. Use VPN. I think these three things, you can probably get it within, say, $300 to $500 a year.
Yeah.
And that protects, I would say, most, if not all.
Yeah, two things, opinionate. One, ACSC actually have a small business toolkit, which is quite good. So again, I don't know, maybe we'll keep a track of this and we can send it out. But if you just Google ACSC small business toolkit, it actually has a whole bunch of guidance. Number two, you're probably better off using cloud, and you're better off turning on security features in cloud.
Yeah, this one.
So rather than using a small managed service provider or like your Uncle Jim that makes computers from 1993, just use cloud. Like, it's just easier. Don't make the mistake of assuming security is turned on. You probably have to turn it on. But yeah, cloud stuff, it's going to make your life way easier. And MFA.
Yeah.
One more verse. For the love of all things decent, don't store your admin passwords in a text file on the server.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, nor the AD comment field,
Yeah.
nor it's in a spreadsheet, but you've made the text white. Like, I mean, we've seen it all before.
It reminds me, I went to someone's place, started talking about cybersecurity, security, small enterprise. I take backups. Where a backup downstairs? All right. And what do you do if there's no electricity or if you're working remotely? I don't know. So, and then last year, flooding happened. They lost it. So yeah, cloud, go cloud.
So I think the billboard is just to think about security.
We'll do one more question and then we'll close off.
Yeah, cool. I mean, we're going to be around.
Yeah.
Do you want? We'll do one from the floor.
I think, yeah, do.
Right. I actually want your opinion here, and I'll follow on what you mentioned before about the secure software development and the house, right? I used to be an engineer in my previous life, and when I was doing my master's in IT, I was shocked about essentially the poor preparation of IT developers, right? As an engineer, when I build a house and I'm building services, when you switch on and switch it will work, fan will work, and so on. Why? Because it's installed by an electrician, was certified and following standards. None of these apply to the software, right? So my question to you is, do you think there is value in having certification, standard, not framework, not guidelines, but standard, so that, because all what I'm doing here is I'm protecting myself from essentially poor products, poor software, right? Why should the onus be on me? I don't want to sort of fix my switch or worry about my product. I want to be done. So what do you think?
I have many opinions.
Opinion.
You want to go first?
Yeah. So number one, yes. So the best thing we could do is have registration for software engineers. I'm a member of Engineers Australia. I'm a registered engineer. Yeah. So we really struggle with the registration. So two, having a body of knowledge that if you're a registered professional, you need to apply. So basically what we do in engineering would apply to software. If we made cars like we make software, there'd be a lot of dead people. All right. So so have a look at Engineers Australia. I'm ITEE College. Yeah, really important. The other thing is things like SANS top 25, common software vulnerabilities, those kind of things. Teaching that and awareness of that. So
the only thing, two things I would want to say here. One, even though we have given quite a strong message, don't be too harsh or hard on ourselves, because IT in general is about 50 years old. With construction, we have been doing it for, I don't know, 2000. The problem we have is that we are running quite fast and we are not able to catch up, right, with the security or any other standards in IT. So it's not just a problem with security, it's just in general, right? Again, same thing, if we ask people, doctors, right, not to be certified and perform operations, we'll have a lot of dead people, right? So it's the same sort of thing. So yeah, we do have a bit more tolerance because, and I don't want to say that in bad way, but usually people don't die if something goes wrong in IT, right? So that's not an excuse though, but I'm just saying, don't be too hard. All right, I think
Yeah,
we
please,
gotta
yeah,
finish.
yeah. We'll be
Thank
here
you
all
guys,
night.
really
Just
appreciate it.
Turn the lights off. Yeah. Excellent work, man. Yeah, definitely. There you go.
All right. First of all, thanks to Bruce and Naveen for presenting tonight. Yeah, very interesting topic, and thanks for keeping it entertaining as well, because sometimes security topic can be like risk very dry. So thanks for making it fun event as well. I'm gonna wrap up really quickly because I know it has been a very long evening for all of us. Yeah, okay, cool. Now this is more relevant for PMI Queensland members. So this year we launched online